Have you ever noticed how some individuals possess an almost supernatural ability to control their surroundings without uttering a word? They don't shout or beg, they simply withdraw, and suddenly, everything changes. The energy shifts, leading others to question, chase after, and feel. Now, imagine if you adopted the same approach. What if you chose silence over immediate reactions? What if you retreated instead of exploding? The essence lies in this choice. When you stop being constantly available, emotionally, physically, psychologically, the world around you goes into crisis. People are accustomed to controlling you through your reactions, impulses, and predictability. However, the moment you choose to withdraw, the dynamics change, revealing how little they truly know you. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." When you become inaccessible, observe who truly gets desperate, irritated, or tries to provoke you for an emotional response. This reflects their dependency on manipulating you, often without your awareness. You continually give of yourself to maintain peace and not lose people who, deep down, were never truly invested in you. Every forced yes, every immediate response, every emotional reaction drains your energy, leaving you exhausted, frustrated, and feeling an inexplicable emptiness. This occurs because you have been too available for those unworthy of even a moment of your silence. This discourse isn't about abandoning the world, it's about choosing yourself. It's about understanding what Jung called individuation, becoming whole, authentic, and complete. This journey begins with the realization that silence can hold more power than 1,000 arguments. Withdrawal, when rooted in awareness rather than escapism, is a true act of strength. So I ask you, how long will you let others control your emotions? How long will you react like a puppet every time someone pokes at your wounds? Perhaps it's time to sever those strings and embrace mystery, as everything changes when you stop being available. From childhood, you've been conditioned to always be present, respond quickly, and please others, even when it contradicts your desires. The sobering truth is that this excessive availability is not a virtue. It is a prison. As long as you believe you must be accessible at all times, you will be manipulated, drained, and forgotten once you cease to be useful. This is due to predictability. People begin to utilize you as an emotional emergency button, pressing it for attention, relief, or validation before returning you to the shelf. You are ensnared in an illusion that your presence guarantees someone else's presence for you, but this is a fallacy. Jung described this as the persona, the mask we wear for acceptance and love, which often renders us overly available. You might say it's okay while suffocating, respond to messages instantly despite exhaustion, and justify your actions as if you owe something to the world. The reality is, the more you place yourself at the center of others' narratives, the more you fade from your own. Being perpetually available subtly leads to self-abandonment. It masquerades as a quest for approval and a means of controlling others' perceptions of you. However, this control comes at a steep price: your peace. Your vital energy is distributed as if infinite, yet it is limited. Those who demand your constant availability do not genuinely desire you. They seek what you provide: validation, companionship, distraction, and emotional comfort. When you set boundaries or refuse to react, those same individuals often become irritated, accusing you of being different. This isn't a sign of your change, but an indication that you've ceased to function according to their needs. The cruel reality is that the more accessible you are, the less value others attribute to you. What is too abundant often becomes disregarded. No one respects what they don't have to earn. Thus, it's crucial to contemplate who truly deserves your time, attention, and presence. To answer this, we must address a fundamental question: why do we react so much? Why do we yield so easily? The answer lies in what Carl Jung termed psychic energy. Your energy is your most valuable asset, and if you fail to protect it, others will exploit it against you. Jung did not perceive the human psyche as an automatic machine responding to stimuli without repercussions. He viewed the mind as an energy system, where every thought, emotion, and action consumes a part of that energy. The pivotal question is, Are you directing your energy, or are you allowing the external world to dictate its flow? Every impulsive reaction drains your psychic energy, whether you defend against unwarranted criticism, react to provocations just to assert your correctness, engage in futile discussions, or strive to please those who don't appreciate you. This mismanagement binds you further, creating emotional exhaustion. Individuals who feel perpetually drained are not weak, they are misdirected. Exhaustion leads to vulnerability, making you susceptible to manipulative and opportunistic individuals who can sense your weakened state. They recognize that you lack energy protection and continuously react to stimuli. Jung believed that a healthy psyche knows how to retain energy within itself. This means understanding how to say no without guilt, remaining silent without feeling cowardly, and observing before acting. True power lies not in reaction, but in choosing when and how to act, achievable only when you know yourself sufficiently to identify your impulses. How often have you lost sleep over unresolved conversations? How many hours have you spent contemplating what you should have said or why someone treated you poorly? Such mental ruminations drain energy without yielding anything in return. Psychic energy operates like a force field. When well protected, it commands respect without uttering a word. Conversely, if mismanaged, you risk becoming invisible, reactive, and fragile, and the world shows little mercy to those who yield easily. Therefore, start observing your triggers. What prompts your automatic reactions? Identifying these points of energy loss is critical. The objective is not to become cold or indifferent, but to cultivate selectivity and sovereignty over yourself. When you guard your energy, you shatter others' projections onto you, which can be unsettling for many. We now enter a realm of silent manipulation. The next section will delve into how opportunistic individuals thrive on your energy and how your unavailability dismantles their strategies. You may believe you are in control, making conscious choices in your reactions, but the reality is often darker. Most of your emotional responses are programmed, allowing those who understand this to manipulate you easily. Opportunistic individuals don't need to shout or threaten. They merely trigger the exposed buttons and you react. Jung referred to this as projection, a psychological mechanism where individuals project onto others what they fail to acknowledge within themselves. However, this phenomenon has another aspect often overlooked. While others project onto you, you also become a receptacle for these projections. The more emotionally available you are, the more you transform into a blank canvas for others' images. Consider that friend who reaches out solely during crises, that partner who continually requires saving, or those who praise you only as long as you provide utility. None of this occurs by chance. They are not engaging with you, but rather the idea of you, the role you chose to inhabit. Why do you agree to this? Out of fear of disappointment, fear of abandonment, and desire for love. The most effective manipulation does not involve shouting. It occurs in the silence of guilt, where you feel indebted to others, believing you must be available, help, or understand, even at your own expense. The manipulator does not need to control you. They simply require your continuous reaction. However, when you stop reacting, you fracture the game. By saying no, responding with silence, and withdrawing rather than explaining yourself, the projections begin to collapse, and the masks people wear fall away, leaving them unsettled. They no longer recognize who you are and, more distressingly, are compelled to confront themselves, a daunting task for many. Your unavailability becomes a threat, forcing others to face their internal voids. The silence you present highlights the noise they seek to avoid, which can provoke attack, criticism, and emotional drama, not due to wrongdoing on your part, but because you cease to serve as a convenient mirror. Jung stated, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you withdraw and cease feeding the cycle, the shadows within others begin to surface, which can be unbearable for those who have utilized you as an escape." The crucial question is, are you prepared to confront the discomfort of being misunderstood, rejected, or even attacked while protecting yourself? Are you ready to endure the silence following the rupture? Because it is in that silence that a new form of power emerges. In the next section, we will explore why silence can serve as a devastating weapon of the human psyche and how it alters the dynamics between you and the world. In our modern world filled with noise, everyone seeks to be heard, respond quickly, and win useless debates, often sacrificing their peace. However, there exists a power that few recognize, and even fewer master: the power of silence. This isn't about passive absence or cowardice. It's about conscious, strategic silence, a presence that amplifies one's essence. Jung perceived silence not as emptiness but as fertile ground for inner transformation. When you cease reacting, you begin to observe, unveiling patterns that previously eluded your awareness, cycles of emotional repetition, manipulation, and self-sabotage. Silence fosters lucidity, which can be perilous for those who wish to control you. Have you noticed how some panic when you don't respond, explain, or simply disappear? This reaction often stems not from a longing for you, but from the loss of narrative control. While you engage in dialogue, you remain part of the game, but when silent, you alter the rules, unbalancing those who thrive on your reactions. True silence is not about dismissing voices. It is mastery over your own energy. It is a conscious choice to avoid being dragged down by others' emotions and to refrain from engaging in meaningless battles. Jung emphasized that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, requires this distancing. Only in silence can you truly listen to yourself without external interference. However, silence comes with a cost. It distances you from those who valued you solely for the roles you played, rendering you incomprehensible to those who only perceived you through their projections. It may make you appear cold, distant, or arrogant, but these reactions stem from individuals unwilling to confront your depth, preferring utility over authenticity. The more you evolve, the more selective you become with your words, realizing that each sentence embodies an energetic investment. Not everyone deserves access to your truth. At times, silence transcends retreat. It embodies sovereignty. It articulates the stance of those no longer needing to prove anything to anyone. Silence can provoke discomfort, compelling others to confront their own thoughts and internal noise. This discomfort reveals more about them than any argument you might present. You need not justify your absence. It speaks for itself. Those feeling threatened by your unavailability expose their dependency on your imbalance to retain their control. The most potent silence is not the one that disturbs others. It's the silence that reconstructs you from within, connecting you to something beyond external validation. In this inner space, free from external demands, you begin to reclaim your vital energy and reconnect with your essence. This chapter will focus on the necessity of consciously managing your energy, determining where to direct it, where to conserve it, and where it should never be squandered. To effectively reclaim your energy and establish boundaries, it's vital to be aware of the actions that drain you. If you continue saying yes when you really mean no, responding to bothersome messages, engaging in empty conversations, and maintaining relationships out of inertia, any understanding of this concept remains purely intellectual. True transformation begins when you decisively choose to be selective, which requires emotional discipline. Conscious unavailability is not synonymous with being cold, arrogant, or indifferent. Rather, it's about taking charge of your energy, time, and peace. This journey begins with small steps, such as not responding immediately, pausing before reacting, exiting conversations before being drawn into chaos, or turning off your phone without guilt. It also involves asserting your preferences, saying no, expressing disinterest, and opting out of unnecessary involvement. The most critical aspect is that you do not owe anyone an explanation for your absence. You owe nothing to anyone but yourself. This realization may be unforgivable to many, as refusing to explain your silence strips them of their power to maintain you within their emotional narratives. Jung understood that the individuation process encompasses moments of isolation, not in a depressive sense, but as sacred time for inner retreat, a period to relearn how to hear your voice amid the world's clamor. This is where you reconstruct your identity, not based on others' perceptions, but from your core. A useful gauge for your evolution is to observe who distances themselves when you become more reserved, who attempts to provoke you when you stop reacting, and who accuses you of changing as you begin to protect yourself. These signs do not indicate wrongdoing on your part, but rather highlight your journey toward liberation. Initially, being unavailable may feel uncomfortable. Guilt may surface, and you might label yourself selfish or overly harsh. Such feelings are part of the deconstruction process. You have been conditioned to prioritize others, so it's natural for change to evoke discomfort, not only within yourself, but also in those who benefited from your previous self. Conscious unavailability is the bedrock of self-determination. By saying no to the world, you affirm your yes to yourself. Withdrawing from toxic environments reaffirms that your peace surpasses any false connections. When you cease to explain yourself, respect begins to emerge, even if from a small circle. However, not everyone is ready for this type of presence. Your emotional absence will expose wounds others prefer to avoid, revealing their reliance on your chaos for control. This can lead to rupture, bringing pain, loneliness, and estrangement, feelings mistaken for loss when, in reality, you are liberating yourself. What comes after distancing? What emerges from silence? In the final section, we will discuss the rebirth that occurs when you find the courage to embrace misunderstanding, solitude, and wholeness within yourself. It's time to grasp why the solitude of the strong paves the way to true freedom. Once you stop being available to everyone, profound transformations unfold. Initially, you may experience discomforting silence, one that screams within you, provoking doubts about your decisions. You may wonder if you're being too harsh or losing friendships. Gradually, this silence transitions into cleansing, calming, and healing solitude. Not the absence of connection, but the presence of self. This is the solitude of the strong, one who no longer compromises self-identity for the sake of others. In this space where confusion once reigned, clarity enters. Where anxiety dwelled, peace now resides. Where neediness existed, a new strength arises, the strength of being whole within yourself. Jung articulated that the individuation process, becoming your true self, requires distancing from the collective and disidentifying from the mask we wear. This is precisely what occurs when you choose to become unavailable. You are not escaping the world, but returning to yourself. At this juncture, you transition from being a reactor to a creator. You cease to be molded by circumstances and begin to shape your reality from within. Those who feel uncomfortable with your absence reveal their lack of desire for you as a person. Rather, they wanted the role you fulfilled. Your unavailability liberates you. You may lose people, but in return, you will find yourself. You will distance from places, yet reconnect with your essence. You will face misunderstanding, but ultimately gain respect. When you are no longer available for trivialities, you become valuable, rare, and unforgettable. Do not be deceived. This marks a rebirth, a new beginning where you no longer settle for emotional crumbs, mind games, or voids disguised as affection. You will only accept what resonates with your peace, truth, and wholeness. If you've read this far, a part of you is already prepared for this new path, realizing that being loved means nothing if it requires self-abandonment. True self-love begins when you prioritize yourself, even at the cost of temporary solitude. Now, I invite you to reflect. Are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, or even hated in the pursuit of your inner freedom? Are you willing to pay the price of being true to yourself? If this message resonates with you, please comment, "I choose my peace." Let's see how many are ready for this transformative journey, and remember to keep watching the next video. It's more important than you might think.